Bryan Kohberger took a plea deal, and we're going to revisit it, look at it, analyze it in today's video.
Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad, sipping from the cup at hey, hey.
Now hold on everybody, let's do a quick sofa sidebar now. Keep in mind, ain't no cop, ain't no doctor, ain't no lawyer, ain't no therapist, ain't none of that fancy credentialed stuff, okay? Only credentials we got up in here is my sass, and this sofa. Now keep in mind also, I'm just giving my opinions on very public information, so do your own research, come to your own opinions, and drop them off in the comment section. And while you're down there, if you do like what you see here at the Sofa Squad, drop a little like, drop a little comment, drop a little share. It helps the channel out immensely. Now let's get edition. Hello Sofa Squad and welcome back to the sofa. That's the sofa. This is Paul. I hope y'all are doing well. My name is Paul if you're new to the channel. If you're not new to the channel, my name still is Paul. Now, like I said, we're going to be revisiting that plea deal hearing. We'll look at different parts of it. We'll talk about it. We'll offer opinions, all that kind of stuff in it. Now, before we get to that, let's do a quick little overview of how we arrived at today's video at this juncture in the case. So, Bryan Kohberger, aka the Idaho 4 case. Now, this absolutely rocked the true crime world, as I'm sure you know, back in late 2022. This is when 4 University of Idaho students were brutally murdered in their off-campus home over in Moscow, Idaho. We had Kaylee, Madison, Zana, and Ethan. Now, this went cold for weeks, right? It was like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? There's no arrests, there's no major leads, so on and so forth. Stuff was going on in the background though, right? And then out of nowhere, boom, police arrest Bryan Kohberger. He's a criminology PhD student from Washington State University, or that's where he was going to university at. Now, he drove this white Hyundai Elantra, and it matched the suspect vehicle seen in their surveillance video. You know, there's phone information, evidence, there's DNA tying him to the scene, and you know, there's a sheath, there's Amazon stuff, all sorts of things, right? And so this case just kind of goes on and on and on and on. Well, fast forward. We are at July 2nd, 2025, and Bryan Kohberger officially pleaded guilty. He admitted to all of the 4 of the murders, right? Now, in this, he would avoid the death penalty by taking this deal. So the sentencing is set for July 23rd, 2025, and he's looking at 4 life sentences plus 10 years, no chance of parole, no ability to appeal. Now, also the families, the victims' families are kind of torn, right? Some of them are like, hey, you know what? We feel used by the prosecution. We weren't looped in on this. Others are like, you know what? This is gonna start helping the sense of closure and moving on. You know, we want it. We're here for it, okay? Now, there's also some new things that we learned. We'll talk about those as we go, whether it was from, you know, the victim's family or stuff in court, whatnot. But we'll revisit that here in a little bit. Now, keep in mind some other major things with this. That campus house was demolished back in 2023 December. There is a healing garden that now stands on campus as well. Now, one of the things that has taken place by him pleading out, and this is just at this juncture, right? Anything could change, but we still don't know why he did this. You know, he hasn't given an explanation. I personally think that part of his pleading out was not only to avoid the death penalty, but to control the narrative and kind of give it a more of an infamous type thing. I do believe by him doing this, it will create like what I call the Chris Watts effect, right? Chris Watts pled guilty to the same type of stuff, but there was just the case went on, speculation went on for many, many years and probably still does today. And I think Bryan Kohberger was probably aware of that. Whether it's specifically because of Chris Watts, I don't know, right? But I think he knew to say, you know what? I can kind of control this in a sense, so we're going to go with this. Now, that being said, that drops us off at that plea hearing. We covered this over on the podcast channel, but I haven't done like a reaction or talking about it or anything like that over here on this channel. So what I'm going to do is we're basically going to rewatch the hearing, right? And we're going to talk about certain parts of it. I'll make commentary along the way. Now, this hearing is available on YouTube. It's free to watch. So if you don't want to hear me like rambling on about it, go for it, okay? So let's go ahead and get to that first scene.
And dedication. All right. That said, let's move to the business of today. I understand the state and the defense have reached a plea agreement in this case. For the record, I have a written plea agreement which indicates, in sum, the defendant will plead guilty to all 5 counts in the indictment, burglary, felony, and first-degree murder, 4 counts. The state and the defendant stipulate, that is, that the defense is not free to argue for a lesser sentence at sentencing to the following. The defendant on the burglary charge will be sentenced to 10 years fixed, and that the defendant on counts 2 through 5, the 4 counts of first-degree homicide, on each count would receive a fixed life sentence, all 5 of those counts to run consecutive to one another.
Okay, so let's stop right there. So, a couple of things here. If you've been following this case, you'll know that this has gone on for a minute, right? Now, we're not talking about Sarah Boone level, but okay. First of all, Brian's sitting over there. It's always kind of, I don't know if spooky is the right word. I mean, in the live chats, we kind of talk about this, about just the aura that he brings, the energy he brings off. I've also heard a lot of people talk about they did not appreciate the way his attorney acted during this, maybe with smiling, smirking, whatever. We'll see what we see as we go. Now, also when he was like, okay, look, the defense is saying, hey, we're not going to argue these sentences, okay? So consecutive, boom, 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 boom. The man ain't going nowhere, right? Now, we'll talk about the prison he's going to be in here in a little bit. But one of the things with these plea deals is just that. And so again, it completely depends on, for me, I'm like, well, what does the family of the victim want, right? Now I understand that there's you're dealing with multiple people coming together here. So you're never going to make one person happy in a situation like this. It's not like this is the parents of one child whose life was brutally taken and we're just dealing with them. We're dealing with numerous parents here, numerous victims, et cetera, et cetera. So I can see both arguments here of like the parents were like, we want the death penalty, we want to go to this, we want to go to that. We're ready to fight this whole way through. Completely get it. Also get the other argument of, hey, look, he's given up appeals. We don't have to keep coming back to court. We don't have to have this rehash. This is bam, done. It is and this is sofa speculation, odd pillow opinion. Let's odd pillow everything. So it's my opinion on that speculation, whatever. I believe that Brian, I said this earlier, why he did this was to control the narrative. I do not think that because it's like, oh, we might not see him for appeals or this or that, there's going to be a certain level of infamy, right? Think Night Stalker, think Ted Bundy, think these situations. Okay, now obviously Ted Bundy, we know how that ended, right? That was pretty severe. But many people have compared Brian, his energy, his kind of look, whatever, demeanor to Ted Bundy. I think we will be hearing from Brian more. And in what capacity, I don't know.
Defendant, as part of the plea agreement, waives his right to appeal, as well as his right to appeal the sentence and his right to seek leniency or reconsideration of the sentence under Idaho Criminal Rule 35. This is not a Rule 11 agreement, meaning the court is not bound by the plea agreement and could impose a different lawful sentence at sentencing. The stipulated agreement between the parties is the maximum on each count. So theoretically, the only thing the court could do would be a lesser sentence at sentencing.
And I think we all know that ain't gonna happen, right? Now, first when he said that, obviously we know the next step up is the death penalty. But like, if that wasn't, imagine if it's sentencing, the judge was like, no, you know what? We'll take that guilty plea and you get the death sentence. Now I know that's not gonna happen, right? Like, it's not possible, whatever. That's why we're here for this. But nonetheless, I'm sure it would be like, well, hold on now, wait a second, hold up.
Taylor, have you had sufficient time to discuss this case and all of its ramifications with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Have you discussed fully with him his rights, defenses, and possible consequences to him of the guilty plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you been able to do all the discovery you feel necessary?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you informed your client of the importance of providing the court truthful and accurate answers in taking this plea today?
I have.
Have you apprised your client of any and all offers and counter offers and answered his questions about those?
Yes,
Do you consent to the entry of the plea today?
I do.
All right, Mr. Kohberger, I need to ask you some questions this afternoon.
So one of the things where she was speaking right here, I know it's like a small window or whatever, but she kind of does this almost like, not laughing thing, but laughing thing, right? And a lot of people were like, well, what's her behavior this? What's her behavior that? I think it's inappropriate on some level? Yes. Again, they're living in a different world, the defense, because they're living in their bubble of doing defense stuff and trying to whatever. Right, wrong, or indifferent, she came at every single angle with this, right? So it's almost like there you go. Now, many things will come up and we'll talk about this throughout the video, but why would he do this in addition to that number one, remember, if you've been following this, he was losing some major court battles towards the end, right? They were trying to bring in another suspect. They were trying to get, DNA stuff going, like all the things to think about as we went. And one of the last things being was this desire to have a little bit of an extension. Okay, well, we're not going to do that. The walls were closing in. And I think personally, from my non-credentialed opinion, any defense attorney worth their salt in a situation like this, because how many times do we see these cases where we're like, why on earth would they go to trial for this if they didn't want the death penalty, right? When the evidence is so extreme and whatnot. Now, I know that there are people out there that will say nope and still will say he didn't do it. Yeah, no, he didn't do it. He was forced into this. So that's a whole other topic right there. This is on the assumption that we're taking Bryan at face value. He has admitted that he did this, so therefore he did it, right? That's a different video for the other. And with my opinion, any defense attorney worth their salt is going to go to their client at a certain point, and they're just going to have to tell them, look, we can 100% take this to trial. I will march in there and slam my bag down and talk all day long about what your rights are and defend you as best as I can. But this is the evidence they have against you. This is the reality. These are their witnesses that are going to get up and most likely say A, B, C, and D. And the end result possibility is that you could get the death sentence for this. What do you with this is, because at the end of the day, I'm pretending like I'm her talking to him. It's your life. What do you want to do with the information I have just given you? And really, for me, if I was a defense attorney, I would have to put that on their plate and then let them digest that. And if they were like, well, what would you do? I'd be like, you need to digest that first. What resonates with you first? And then after you give me your answer, I will tell you what I personally think. Because that's such a huge life or death decision, because it's almost like it's not me that's going to be under the, however they do the shooting people or legislature, whatever it is they want to do in Idaho. It's not going to be me doing that, right? So if I was a defense attorney, that's how I would sell it to somebody like Bryan in this situation. And I personally think Bryan probably took that information and then also calculated with that, this will go down even bigger. I will still win, if you will, if I plea out. I hold all the answers that the people want, and they won't find them out for the most part, right? We know a lot of it, but not all of it, nor will we ever.
Or I guess it's this morning still. I do this to ensure that so that I am assured that you understand the nature of the charges to which I understand you're going to plead guilty, as well as the possible consequences to you of your guilty pleas. I want to make sure your plea is given voluntarily. And I want to make sure that you actually committed the crimes to which you're pleading guilty, because I don't want you to plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit. If you attempt to plead guilty today, but for some reason I don't accept your plea, then it is possible that your statements today could be used against you later at trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. And now, while you're standing, actually, why don't you take the oath from the clerk?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in the matter not given before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Now, for me, watching Bryan, because again, what I've seen of him, obviously I don't know the man, has been through the internet. What we've seen of him in court, his body language, we very rarely hear him speak in court. I mean, this is the most we've heard from the man, right? So hearing him speak in his very, yes, just his very, monotone kind of voice. His mannerisms, he's very kind of almost like robotic, the way he moves, whatever. I like kind of sitting here and filtering him through a psychological filter. And no, I'm not, some therapist or anything like that, but just the way that we watch true crime. For me, like psychological aspects of true crime is very interesting to me, a very big component to it. And so with Bryan, I do find him fascinating in that context, even though I'm not obviously up in here trying to diagnose somebody with this or that or the other or whatever. Also interesting when the judge is like, not interesting, but just factual, whatever you want to say, when he's like, we're going to go through this because I want to make sure you are admitting to the crime, that you did this, that you're not under duress or any of these things and whatnot. And again, I think we saw this with Chris Watts, where, he went up there and he pled guilty and he did all this stuff. His mom spoke, the whole 9 yards. Now, granted, we didn't see Bryan's mom speak in this particular hearing here, but nonetheless, it's still Bryan getting up here and outlining and hearing, boom, 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 boom. Yes, I did it. And that's very scary. Now, on that same note, it makes it more real, I should say, but also for me, it makes him more scary, if that makes sense, right? Because at this point, remember, we're going based on, we're taking him at face value, right? So it's like, okay, so he did do it. He does know what their young adults' last moments in life were like. That part absolutely sends chills down my spine.
And Mr. Kohberger, just to make it easier, you don't need to stand when you speak to me. I appreciate the sign of respect, but for convenience, you can remain seated, all right? Before I start asking you questions today, have you consumed substantive questions? Let me ask you, have you consumed any alcohol, drug, or other intoxicating substance that would impair your ability to understand or exercise reasonable judgment?
No.
You feel like you are thinking clearly today?
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the possible penalties are for each of the crimes to which I understand you're going to offer a guilty plea today.
Imagine if when he asked him the drug thing or whatever, if he was like, yeah, I took something. And then I imagine the judge would be like, well, what'd you take? Like, let's say, I'm making this up, I don't know if he's done this stuff, but some kind of like, antidepressant or whatever. I took this, well, is it clotting this or that? Well, I don't know, I took 2 extra ones. Like, would they just call the hearing off, right? Like if he was like, well, I accidentally took a secondary dose of my antidepressants, which I know they control that or whatever, but some kind of answer that alluded to that of like I've taken some form of medication or I've done this, and I guess they would just put it off with so many questions coming up, right? Like, why did you do that? What are you doing? Now, also, one of the things that I think that is present here, and again, I don't really have a huge like baseline, if you will, of what Bryan's behavior is normally like. We've seen him in the cop videos, meaning like when he got stopped by police and how he interacts and that kind of thing or whatever. And he does seem just very kind of monotone, but you can tell where the inflections are and whatnot. For whatever reason in this, and maybe it's based via like his, or by proxy, however you say it, his lawyer, of this almost a sense of relief. Because in my mind, I'm thinking for him, even if it's controlling the narrative or whatever it is, there has to be a sense of, oh, it's over. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be a sense for him specifically, just him, of the unknowing of what's going to happen is over. I have owned it. I knew I was going to get convicted of something, and so I took control and saved my life. I don't have to come to court anymore. Now, I personally, if I was Bryan, would be scared, right? Because I'd be like, well, now they're going to send me off, like, out of the situation I'm in. Personally, if I was Bryan, I would like to say that we wouldn't be here, right, in this situation, but let's just put ourselves there. Honey, begging for the death penalty, okay? You would have to get the jaws of life to peel me out of that courtroom begging for it. I would bring it on. I'd be Aileen Warrenhouse, however you say her name. I'd be like, exhaust my stuff, plead me guilty. I will plead guilty for the death penalty right now. I do not want to spend the rest of my days locked up, in danger, any of that. To me, the death penalty is the easy way out. Now, mind you, what is it? Idaho's done like very few death penalties in decades, so there is that. But what I'm getting at is, it's the easy way out. You are not going to just live in a cell the rest of your life, right? As opposed to, with somebody like him, he's going to be a mark. People are going to want to harm him, right? I mean, with all due reason. I mean, come on, like, look at what he did. So in the world of prison, this is not a cute look for him. His life is in danger. So for him to want to live is rather shocking to me, but also in the narrative of trying to control things, it's not shocking.
They include on count 1, the burglary, a fine of up to $50,000 and a period of incarceration of up to 10 years in the state penitentiary. You may be required to pay restitution to any victims of the crime. Count 2, 3, 4, and 5 for first-degree murder. The consequences include a fine of up to $50,000, a period of incarceration of life imprisonment, which is a requirement of a sentence, that it be a life sentence with a mandatory minimum sentence of at least 10 years on each of those counts. In addition, you would be potentially responsible for a fine of up to $5,000 to each of the victims of your crime, to be enforced in the form of a civil judgment, to operate as additional punishment. This is in excess of any restitution or fines that the court could order.
Okay, that is a lot of honey buns, okay? These fines that they impose, and I'm not trying to say they shouldn't do that or whatever. I mean, it is what it is, right? But it's like when you think of them going to prison and whatnot, I mean, come on, like they can never pay that back. Even if they have a little job in there, it is what it is, right? It's just a way to, I would imagine, to prevent them from making money off of said crime.
And again, you may be required to pay restitution to the victims of the crime. You would be required to provide, as to counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, a DNA sample and a right thumbprint impression, and potentially pay for analysis of those samples. You would lose any right to possess, purchase, or carry a firearm, the right to serve on jury duty, the right to hold public office, and the right to vote. Do you understand the charges and all those possible consequences?
Yes.
Interesting, some of the infractions that come with that are the you can't do this anymore that come with that. Now the DNA thing, I think that's just standard protocol. You get convicted, whatever, you're going to hand that over and whatnot. And you heard Brian say at the end of that, yes. Now also the restitution of the victims, right? If anything should be paid back, that's, if there's, whatever that is, that should be number one priority.
You've heard the plea agreement that I talked about today. Do you agree with that plea agreement?
Yes.
And do you understand the nature of the charges that you've been charged with that I understand you're going to plead guilty today to?
Yes.
Now, here's the thing on this note, and this is on the note of he's innocent, he's being forced to do this, whatever. My own personal thing is I believe Brian when he says that he did this, right? I was looking at the evidence where it goes. I'm always for waiting for the trial. It's, great to speculate, whatever, but at the end of the day, once trial comes and whatnot. Now, when somebody pleads out like this, I'm going to believe them, right? There's very few circumstances where that I wouldn't. If there wasn't all of the crazy evidence that had already bubbled up to the surface against him or whatever, maybe so, right? But because there have been other weird things. So a good case of this is that I cannot think of his name right now, but he's the dude that confessed to taking the life of JonBenet Ramsey when the evidence showed this was like not even possible, right? Like he wasn't even there, whatever. But whatever he had going on, I think there's multiple guys that did that with her. But you see where I'm going, where it's like there's no actual evidence connecting you to this. In fact, you were like out of the country. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But Brian doing this clearly in this moment, right? And this, he wants to do this. So even if he was thinking, you know what? They've painted me in a corner. I'm just going to plead guilty to make it easier on myself or whatever. I mean, sure, that could be a possibility. But there would have been so much going on to have created this scenario to that degree, right? Of basically we're gonna all come together to paint this man as guilty or whatever the case may be. I do believe that he acted alone. I always go back to this notion, and again, Ted Bundy, to compare them. In the Ted Bundy case, some of the extreme violence that he inflicted in such a short amount of time on these women, on these groups of homes was crazy. And people who lived through Ted Bundy, who saw that Ted Bundy, okay, we're not talking about like, was it Anne Rule who knew him and wrote the book? Anne Rice is the vampire person, but you know what I'm saying? I think it's Anne Rule. I can't believe I can't think of that right now. Not someone like that, but people who saw the evil Ted Bundy or whatever and lived through it, and they're all like, oh, this man, a monster came out or whatever. I'm trying to imagine the adrenaline that would come out in you when you're doing something that Brian has said that he did, right? That level of I'm going in and killing all these people and doing this kind of stuff. Think of the adrenaline when you're just going up a roller coaster hill. I mean, it's probably not even comparable. So that kind of adrenaline, I mean, that's how you see men pick up cars, right? So for me, I'm like, oh yeah, 100%. I think he completely could have done this on his own in a very short amount of time. And he went in and boom, 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 boom. And that's why it was all so messy.
As I indicated, I'm not bound by the plea agreement, but the plea agreement is for the maximum on each count. Do you understand that I'm not bound by the plea agreement?
Yes.
Has anyone promised you that I would be lenient or easy on you if you pled guilty?
No.
Has anyone threatened you or anyone close to you to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Has anyone other than the state's agreements with respect to the plea agreement, has anyone promised you anything in exchange for your plea agreement?
No.
Now, if this is a scenario where he was like going to plead out, you see this in other cases, to like say he was going to walk out of prison on some level, and he was like, and then he got out, got out in 25 years. I had to plead guilty because I didn't do it, and that's the only way I could get out or whatever. Okay, right? A little bit more understandable. But again, I tend to believe Bryan in this. I don't think he's being forced into the confession. I don't think he's under duress. I don't think he's been promised something except for, right? I mean, no death penalty. You know the judges are going to get up here and be like, never mind probation. I mean, come on, look at what he's confessing to.
Has anyone told you to be untruthful in answering my questions today?
No.
Has anyone offered you a reward of any kind other than the plea agreement in order to get you to plead guilty today?
No.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
I mean, this is what I'm talking about when I say, like, there's many different avenues to go down with this, but at this point, they definitely dot their I's and they cross their T's, and he's saying this over and over again. Does this mean that I think maybe in 2 years he could come back and say, well, wait a minute? Absolutely not, right? Nothing surprises me anymore.
And counsel, obviously there have been a number of motions filed to suppress evidence in this case. Other than those filed, are there any other motions that you felt were available with respect to Rule 12?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Kohberger, you understand that by entering the guilty plea in this case, you would be giving up your right to appeal any decision this court made, as well as your sentence.
Yes.
Now, that is the tricky thing with these plea deals and stuff like that. I mean, once you sign this stuff over, you're signing away all this stuff. So if something comes back up in however long, I'm not trying to say they can't be undone, right? But like on a surface level, you're signing away everything. So if there is a chance that you were innocent and just, you know, trying to whatever, I don't know. This is like an added layer of getting yourself untangled from that at a certain point, right? Let's say somebody came up in 10 years and confessed to this crime. It made it all the way to where they looked and they're like, yeah, this person actually was there. There's evidence that shows this. Okay. You know, then Bryan might be like, oh, well, I guess the question then would be, why did you plea out, right? You know what I'm saying? But using that as like a bad example, I guess. But it's just interesting from a legal standpoint how all the chips are stacked within the state, within the prosecution side for situations like this.
Have you had enough time to decide whether or not to plead guilty?
Yes.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Given your choices, do you believe it's in your best interest to plead guilty?
Yes.
Have you discussed fully the matter of pleading guilty with your attorney, and are you satisfied with the advice you've received?
Yes.
Now, here's the thing, and I really honestly think this is what it comes down to. I think he weighed his options out, and he also, I just feel like a backdrop to that was, I will control the narrative if I plead guilty. But I feel like once these last things that went through these last motions that they were going over went like they lost in court. Once it was like, this is the evidence that's coming out. We can't try and bring another intruder. We can't do this. We can't do that. We can't do this. You know, the little things we learned, you know, now this too, I'm not sure if it's been confirmed at the time of this recording that the person in the video, the recent drama that went on of the DoorDash driver and that police cam video talking about like, I'm going to testify or whatever. All the eyewitnesses of like in the house, even the survivors, the roommates, the things they were going to say, I do not think that their testimony was going to benefit Mr. Kohberger in any such way. The eyebrows, the holding the container, things of this nature, right? And especially if a DoorDash driver was going to get up there and be like, yeah, I pulled in next to this dude. I mean, right? Come on. This is before you even get into the talks of the DNA, the Amazon orders of this, and some of that could be the circumstantial things of this nature, not really the DNA, but I mean, that's kind of hard to deny, but it's out there, right?
Has your attorney advised you to your satisfaction about what your rights are, what your defenses may be, and what the possible consequences to you of your guilty plea are?
Yes.
Has your attorney done everything you've asked them to do?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with their representation of you?
Yes.
I mean, I would hope so. Right, wrong, indifferent, whatever. His attorney team, I mean, they have gone up against every single little thing they have tried to throw against the wall, right? From my perspective, again, I always come from the perspective of everybody would want a defense. Everybody would want that defense to fight as hard as they can for them. She's definitely come out swinging, right?
I have received a written guilty plea advisory questionnaire that is purported to be filled out by you. Did you fill that document out?
Yes.
Did you understand the questions that you answered in this document?
Yes.
And are the answers that are outlined in this document your answers?
Yes.
Are those answers truthful?
Yes.
Did you sign the document?
Yes.
And this document outlines many of the rights that you have in this case. Should you not plead guilty, did you understand those rights?
Yes.
They include a right to a jury trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to the presumption of innocence. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You have the right to require the state to prove your guilt as to each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, one thing is I watched this and I understand that, some of the victims' families did not go into the courtroom, some did and whatnot. Trying to pivot myself to their point of view, POV, whatever you call it, sitting there listening to this person finally admit, yep, I did it. Yep. Mm-hmm. It's so surreal to me to even imagine sitting close to your child's murderer and listening to them just, yes, yes, yes. Just like we're, filling out a form or something, which, technically we kind of are, but the subject matter of the form is so tragic.
They include a right to confront your accusers and cross-examine witnesses presented by the state, including by utilizing the subpoena power of the court to accomplish that. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You understand you would have a privilege against self-incrimination and a right to remain silent, meaning you would not be compelled to testify if you did not wish to, had you not pled guilty.
Yes.
You understand you're giving up that privilege and those rights that I've just outlined by pleading guilty.
Yes.
Again, we're talking dotting I's, we're talking crossing T's, we're talking leaving no room for question.
All right, I want you to understand what the state would have had to have proven at trial had you, as to the crimes that you're pleading guilty to, had you, if you didn't plead guilty. Let me find the document. Hang on a second here. All right. So as to count one burglary, the state would have to have proven that on or about November 13, 2022 in Latah County, Idaho, you unlawfully entered a residence located at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder. As to count two, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogan, from which she died. As to count three, the state would have had to have proven that on that same date in Latah County, at that same address, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. As to count four, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. And then as to count five, also murder in the first degree, that on or about November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being, by stabbing him, from which he died. Do you understand those things the state would have had to have proven?
Yes.
And do you understand that by pleading guilty, the state no longer has to prove those things because you're admitting those things are true?
Yes.
So I love how the judge says a human being when he was reading off the counts and talking about the crime or whatever, and he's like, you stabbed to death Xana, whoever the person was in the moment, a human being. I like that he gives it, and I don't know if that's just standard protocol, what they do, but I like that it assigns that, like, this is a human, this is a life, this is a child, this is a sister, this is a brother, this is a grandchild, all the things, right? It's more than just a headline, it's more than just images, right? This is a person. Because I think a lot of times in these cases, especially for those who don't know them, who aren't there, whatever, we just learn about the victims through what we see and learn, right? The television, through social media, through all these things. Now, one thing watching this as I listen to this, and again, just thinking back to their ages, to the circumstances of like that one, the friend who was going to go but didn't, all the circumstances that led up to these particular people in this house, the choices that were made, which are just regular, normal, everyday choices that can result in who knows what, right? And it's so utterly sad and depressing. I also calls back to a time where, and I don't know the year of this or anything like that, but UNC Chapel Hill, this is like where I grew up at. And there was I think it was a frat house. Basically, it was graduation night. So UNC graduation always takes place around Mother's Day, right? And whatever took place, this frat house caught on fire and several of the kids died in the fire. It gives me goosebumps right now. And I remember that being like one of the first like really close to me, because it was like here in the town, and you would drive by and the house was like boarded up for a very long time. I mean, this is like a long time ago. And it was that first reality of being close to some kind of severe mega tragedy like that, of like, oh my God, like completely random. And again, I don't know the circumstances around it. And so this situation here where these young adults were like on the brink of, you know what I'm saying? Like some already graduated, some graduated, so like their lives were in motion and continuing forth, and how they were brutally stopped. You know, now the fire here at UNC, obviously that's not somebody sneaking in your place or whatever, right? But the similarities of a life stolen, a life taken too soon by murder, by tragedy, whatever you want to call it, you know, that really resonates in this particular case with me and brings those memories back up of UNC. And it's just so sad. And again, I just go back to what the parents must be thinking, the memories that they have of their kids, because remember, I mean, they remember them from birth, right? From before birth, all the way up to them, you know, the first time they were driving, the first time this, all for it to be taken away by someone breaking into the house and just brutally, savagely murdering them. I cannot imagine what that would be like as an adult, as a parent, as a person to process.
I want to also make, for the record, the defendant has provided with the guilty plea advisory form a document entitled Written Factual Basis that purports to have the defendant's signature dated 1 July 2025. Did you sign that document?
Yes.
And did you agree with the written factual basis that is included there?
Yes.
And then let me ask you, did you, on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?
Yes.
I mean, y'all, that part sent chills down my spine. Him asking you, did you do that? Yes. With the intent? Yes. Y'all, I can't with that. Imagine again, I keep going back to it, and I probably will the whole video. Imagine the parents sitting over there hearing that. Now, I will say this, the roommates that don't have to testify anymore, I'm sure they're like, you know, can you imagine the trauma of that, right? And then all they've gone through since then, I can't fathom.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
Did you, on or about that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And did you, on that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And then on or about November 13th, 2022, again in Latah County, Idaho, did you kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
Did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
Again, just listening to the questions and him, yes. Listen to the question that he's asking. Did you kill Ethan? Did you kill Zena? And just the way it's so nonchalant, and I hate using that word, right? But I mean, it's such a perfect moment for that word, because it's so eerie, it's so nonchalant, it's just creepy.
I would ask the state at this time to provide its recitation of its factual basis had this case gone to trial.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's go ahead and end that right there because this is going to end up being like a super, super long video. We'll do the second part where the state like outlines and all that in a separate one, but I wanted to just kind of, close out with a couple of things here. So first of all, obviously, as I've said throughout the thing, here we are. We've been hearing Bryan. Yep, guilty, did it, all this stuff, okay? I'm very curious to see what y'all think down in the comment sections about that. Now, when we get into the second one, and what we'll do is I'll save a lot of my like major overall thoughts for the end of the second one. But when we get into the second one, whether it's tomorrow, Monday, or whenever you're seeing this next video, hearing the state kind of tell it in, let's say, story format, if that makes sense, like the way that you read like the police report and stuff like that, is even more bone chilling to me. But again, hearing Bryan finally up there and saying these things and saying these words and the admittance of it, absolutely just jaw-dropping to me. Now, also, complete side note going on right now. We have Stephen Stearns coming up, like I said. It sounds like I've heard rumblings of a plea that is unverified, that is unconfirmed, that is SOFA speculation at the time of this recording. That can be different by the time you see this. But it's going to be interesting to see a lot of these major cases that we've been looking at if they end up just playing out, right? This one, again, I will just kind of stand by and then we'll wrap it up. I do think that part of this was a power thing of, of retaining power over it. I also want to see the new docuseries coming out. I also want to read the new book coming out. So that being said, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Like I said, next video we'll get more into the part of it where the state's outlining, and telling their version of what happened. So if you're still watching, I greatly appreciate it. I know this was kind of a long video. If you could, down in the comment section, drop off some little sofas and odd-shaped pillows for myself, Rosco and Spirit, Bo and Luke, and you, the Sofa Squad, so that we will have a place to hang out and talk about Bryan and Stefan and Tiffany and Casey Anthony and all these people that we talk about here at the Sofa Squad. And until we get around to do all that, I'll see y'all soon.
I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now, don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Rosco on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.
Hey, welcome to the Sofa Squad, sipping from the cup that hey, come laugh with the Sofa Squad. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough.